Hi guys, welcome to another episode of QQ. My name is Paul Weston, and over there is not Torrin, it's Mitchell. Say
Oh,
hi.
hi everybody! Big surprise.
Today we're going to do the film that's in theaters right now, Black Mass. And Mitch, why don't you give us a quick synopsis on
Why, of course, Paul. Thank you.
that?
Um, so the film is called Black Mass, as Paul said. It's directed by Scott Cooper, who did Crazy Heart and Out of the Furnace. Also written by Jez Butterworth, who's done Fair Game and Edge of Tomorrow, and a first-time screenwriter named Mark Maluk. So good for him, Mark Maluk. So the film is about Whitey Bulger. As many of you probably know, Johnny Depp plays the title character, or the eponymous character, Whitey Bulger. He's the leader of the Winter Hill Gang, which is an Irish-American crime syndicate that's operating in South Boston around 1975 for many years after that. And the film is centering around Whitey's relationship with John Connolly of the FBI, who's hired him to inform on another Italian crime outfit, and it's the relationship between them and how one sort of darkens the other. And then we also meet just about everyone involved with Whitey's dealings in horse racing, embezzlement, and just general murder. There's just a lot of murder.
Yeah,
There's just a lot in this movie of there's a lot of death. So,
Mitch,
yeah.
what grade are you going to give this film?
I've thought about this, and I guess I'm hovering between a B minus and a C plus probably, because I did enjoy this, but there's just a bunch of issues that I have with it. But when I sat down, my natural impulse was not to yell at the screen afterwards, or to punch my hand in the air in disgust. But I had a lot of issues with it, but around that.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it the weakest C plus that I can give it.
Wow. Okay.
It's still C plus, but it's
Okay.
it's gonna be weak. And the main reason why I'm doing that is when I was trying to write the strengths before we did this review, I literally wrote Johnny Depp's performance,
Mm-hmm.
and then I kind of just stayed there for a while.
Okay.
I eventually got. I also wanted to mention Connolly's. Who plays Connolly? It's Egerton. Joel Egerton.
Yes, Joel Egerton.
He's also very good. I think he might be forgotten sometimes. He's quite good as well, and his character's sort of questionable morality creates a very interesting dynamic between the two. And if the film, I think, focused mostly on that instead of sort of Johnny Depp's characters just and his crazy
Right.
antics, I think the film could have been a lot more interesting, but it doesn't. And literally the main strength is those two characters, which is not focused on enough in my eyes, and it's Johnny Depp's performance. In terms of weaknesses, the story becomes for me just super repetitive and predictable by halfway. You just, once there's something in particular happens, certain tension, you know instantly what's going to happen. The structure lacks any sort of major coordination or sort of dramatic build-up into something that I think pays off at the end. And that's sort of the big thing for me is ultimately at the end, I just feel like this film becomes very sort of almost documentary-esque, and there's just, for the fact that I sit there for 2 hours, I don't feel like it's building towards anything, which is, I think, a big issue. And so the film for me eventually just devolves into waiting for Johnny Depp to do cool things, which when he does cool things is fantastic. Johnny Depp, I keep calling him Donnie Depp, and in
This was happening before too. I don't know why. It's all of a sudden he becomes this different person that you personify him as.
Yeah,
it's now Donnie.
So
Yeah.
Johnny Depp,
Sure.
when he gets a chance, he's fantastic. But it's literally that's the main strength for me, and for me the two best scenes are already in the trailer. So I'm not sure why I necessarily need to see this. Right? What about you?
Yeah. I guess part of I'll start with strengths. For me, it seems like your strength was Johnny Depp's performance, but you sort of you liked it, but you probably wouldn't have been drawn to it on its own. For me, that is the movie. That is the heart of that movie, and I think it rightfully does take advantage of him. And when he's in, center frame, so to speak, and also literally, like, I think the movie takes on an energy that it really doesn't possess in the rest of it, and it's because I think he's so committed to that performance and really draws, like, a dimensional character out of that, which I think is great. And I think also it was shot with, like, not a distinct sense of tone, but like a decent sense of, period setting and like some detail, and it doesn't really flesh too much on it, which is part of its weakness, but it's also like feels, it's not too stylized or in your face. In terms of weakness, I mean, it's part of when I was writing the synopsis is, like you said, I'm writing it and I'm like, well, okay, so it's about Whitey Bulger and Winter Hill or whatever. And then I couldn't figure out whether to put the relationship between him and John Connolly before talking about the other people in that synopsis, because the film sort of blends one with the other. John Connolly, if that was the movie, just the relationship between those two, then I think there's a focus there that would make this really, this narrative really fly and really have sort of direction. But the movie's sort of chopped up between all of these different people and all these different situations, and you sort of just feel like you're going from A to B, and there's no, not even that there's no structure to it, but there's no unique, like, sense of, perspective. Mm. And I feel like this story needs that in order to get something really fascinating out of it. And it just sort of is, I think, bubbling under the surface for a lot of it, and doesn't really rise to the top, which is a shame, because I think it really is really more interesting than it hints at.
This film could have been really interesting, but there are a few things which in the discussion we'll discuss, and we thought it could have made it a great film, but instead for me it's overwhelmingly average, except for Johnny Depp's performance, which is, again, like, if nothing else, I'm glad this film was made because it shows us that Johnny Depp is still the beautiful little actor and he's still in there.
Yeah.
But to hear more about this film, honestly, I wouldn't really recommend going seeing it. What about you?
Uh-oh. I mean, I would see it because of him. Mm-hmm. For me, it is a draw, and there's so many years, it seems, between a really good Johnny Depp performance that it sort of is kind of like a touchstone right now. Yeah. And then also, the supporting cast is good, and anything with Adam Scott in it is worth $12. Anything with him just in the movie, always worth more than...
All right. Well, there you have it. So, if you do end up going to see it, I do think, if nothing else, there's going to be a fun discussion for Mitch and I to have. So, if nothing else, watch it for Johnny Depp's performance, and then come join us in discussion. Again, I'm Paul Weston. That's Mitchell Allen, and we'll see you in the discussion. See you guys.
Cool.